Well, hey guys, Ed over here at FICMRepair. Happy Sunday to you. So, here's a video of a video. I love it. So, somebody said, hey, should we offer a rebuild kit, or like, it would be great if we did offer a rebuild kit to upgrade the alternator to over 200 amps. Well, in response to that, some of the comments got interesting. This one here started the conversation. So the real question is, how many amps does a dual battery 12-volt system really need? I don't need all the electronic components to work at to work at stock capacity. Then somebody else chimed in and says, you know what, that's my question too. The answer is around 80 amps in stock form, hence the 110 or so. Those needing more than the 110 don't always agree with. I don't always agree with somewhere in the 350 to 370 range. That seems insane to me. It takes a bit of horsepower to spin an alternator to 300 more than can be used. So let's stop here for just a second and continue this conversation. And it's going to go ahead and it's going to slide into the next comment as well. So recognize the undersizing of the PowerStroke 6-liter alternator has nothing to do with run capacity or amperage or adequacy after the glow plugs have shut off. So after the glow plugs have shut off and you're at full operating temperature, you've only got about a 20-25 amp drawdown on the system. Prior to that, that's when the problem lies in. So when you're at 130 degree oil, say, and on up, you're not running any kind of accessories, it's only a 25 amp draw. And so of course you're charging at 13, 5, and 14 and not having any problems. That makes sense to my head. Makes sense to your head too, right? Makes sense to these guys' heads too, Eric and Ryan over here that are talking about this. What about, though, the fact that you've got this major drawdown after ignition? This is the problem, actually. So Eric writes, he says, it's insane to me. It takes a bit of horsepower to spin an alternator to 300 more than can be used. Well, conveniently, this is what voltage regulators are for. So just because you have a 400 amp or, 370 amp or 320 or 240, kind of my favorite alternator right there, the 240 amp alternator, doesn't mean that it's actually pulling that much current. The internal voltage regulator inside your alternator, it decides dynamically. It says it's looking at the battery voltage, the resultant battery voltage, and it's seeing, hey, we've got enough here, or no, we need more. And so if there's an amp draw that's only 25 amps, well, what do you think the alternator is going to put back out? That'd be the 25 amps. Well, what if it can do more? Well, it's just not going to provide more. So what's the problem? There kind of isn't one. So when the glow plugs are running and you've got this 230 amp combined draw against the charging system, that's when your alternator's like, okay, we're in go mode here, and it's going to go ahead and provide the amperage offset as it's able to. So like if you, for example, get our 320 amp alternator, well, it does 250 at cold idle. Well, you've got a 230 amp draw, so it's going to put out 230 amps to go ahead and offset that 230 amp draw, and life is good. There's extra capacity. But for most folks, and so you're covering 100% of the amp draw. Because you're covering 100% of the amp draw, everything's copacetic. You're not further drawing down your batteries. Now, why do I say further drawing down? Recognize that key on, engine off, when you got that little wait to start light coming on, that's a 160 amp draw. Recognize to get the starter spinning is like a 1350 amp draw. Recognize to keep a 6.0 starter spinning is about 300 amps, but to keep a 6.4 or 6.7 amp alternator spinning is about 400 amps, give or take. After the truck finally starts, and by the way, we're talking about cold weather applications, so your batteries, came into this conversation already ticked off with you because it's freakishly cold outside. It is still January. So because it's still January and all of a sudden we have this freakishly cold weather going on, the glow plugs stay on longer. Now, how long do they stay on for? How long does this 230 amp draw live for? Well, it depends on the oil temperature. It's nothing to do with ambient. Everything to do with oil temp. So if you're in Fargo and it's negative 40 out and you shut your full operating temperature truck off for 2 seconds and then turn it back on again, the glow plugs aren't even part of the equation. The glow plugs are part of the equation at 131 degree oil and less. Now, at that, 100 degree, 110 degree, 90 degree oil, do we care about the glow plugs really? Nah, they're going to be on for like token little, half a second maybe. Who even cares? But at 50 degrees, the glow plugs are on for 45 seconds. At 30 degrees, they're on for a minute and 15 seconds. And at 0 degrees and colder, they're on for 2 minutes. So you've got this incredible drawdown which is really a continued drawdown on batteries that entered the equation ticked. So they entered the equation. There's a reason why there's a CCA rating on your batteries. Cold cranking amps is the number of amps available at 0 degrees. So it's like 850 commonly for a group size 65 batteries. If you're one of the special kids and you picked up the Enersys, Odyssey Extremes from us, those are a little more. But the point is, the CCA number, cold cranking amp number, 850. Well, what's the CA rating? That's 1,000. So at 32 degrees Fahrenheit, you've got basically an eighth more available amperage. But when do you need your batteries to be alive for you and ready to rock and roll? When it's freakishly cold outside. So it's freakishly cold outside. You've got 850 amps available to you, say at a 0 degree startup, say if your batteries were good. So you got like 1,700 amps to help the equation, which is awesome, but recognize that it's still a tremendous drawdown on the batteries. So you've got this drawdown experience from the key on engine off, you've got the drawdown experience from getting the starter to start spinning, you've got the drawdown experience from having it keep to stay spinning, and then go ahead, the truck finally starts, and you're like, oh, man, I'm so glad I'm in high cotton, I'm so glad I'm good here. Whew, man, thank Jesus. Oh, wait just a second. The glow plugs are still running. Ruh-roh, Shaggy. This is the reason why a larger alternator makes sense. What you're trying to do is you're trying to reduce the depth of discharge. And the reason why you're trying to do that is because batteries that are drawn down more don't last as long. That's just the way that it is. And it takes just as long to charge a battery, in effect, from dead to 80% charge is from 80 to 100% charge. So the further the drawdown that you've got on your batteries, the further that pullback is, the longer it's going to take to get those batteries to be recharged again. So now you go ahead and you take your 5-mile jaunt and you shut off the truck. Those batteries didn't have a chance to recharge yet. And so this explains why people say, well, mine's a 185 and it runs over 14 volts with the AC on high, lights on, and stereo running. Anything over that, you'll need to upgrade your wiring. It depends what you're trying to do. So yes, exactly. So if you've got the 185 and you live in a southern climate, you know what? That's a happy medium place, right? And it's like, okay, so yeah, but you're talking about an amp draw after the glow plugs have already shut off, and that's the takeaway. And so then Eric continues with his conversation with Kelly and says, hey, that's kind of where I was going with enough is enough, extra enough is too much. You know what? Extra enough, though, Eric, isn't too much. And so the issue is, how much do you love your batteries? And the issue in a PowerStroke 6.0 application is, how much do you like your DC to DC upconvert circuits in your FICM? So you got 13.8 in this case with the stereos and the upfitters and the plows and the bags and the pumps. That's great. But at the moment that plow blade gets lifted up, you're not at 13.8. You're dipping. Right? Because the alternator can't keep up with that. Not to mention there's a time to activate conversation here that goes along with this conversation about saying, hey, the voltage regulator is watching active system voltage for when to kick in. And so by the time your plow blade finishes its cycle, that amp draw, it's like a second to pick up a blade. And so by the time that the voltage regulator of the alternator figures out that, oh, we got a problem here, George, right? That the work's already done, the load's gone, but the batteries are still low. And you do that often enough. So this is why I ask guys all the time, okay, great, you got a plow in your truck, no worries. Tell me, do you just do your driveway, or are you doing like parking lots? So constantly up, constantly down, constantly up, constantly down. And the amp draw isn't on the down, it's on the up. And so it's like, oh my goodness, you don't have downforce probably. So at any rate, all this to say that when the truck, even if you're a stock application truck, you start, the glow plugs are running, that's where the load is, that's what you're trying to offset. After the glow plug shut off, now you're just in recovery mode and you want as much available as possible, which is the commercial for AGM batteries, absorbed glass mat batteries, because they can accept a charge faster than lead acids can. But regardless of that, wouldn't it be handy if your depth of discharge wasn't as great? So I super appreciate the comments here. Keep them coming. These come from the Facebook version of our feed, but I hope that Eric and Kelly see this, and everybody else, and I hope it makes sense to you. If you got additional questions, man, we're paying attention and we're appreciating you so much for the content. Guys, we're better together. FICMRepair.com. The goal is to tell you stuff, not sell you stuff. So, but what makes sense to you, you know what? That makes sense to us too. We're with you. Take care. We'll see you. Oh, one more thing, and to be clear, we sell alternators, we sell cabling, we sell everything a growing boy needs. Thanks much, and girl. We'll see you. Bye-bye.